Good evening. Welcome. We're glad that you're here tonight. We've got more people here that were on my list, which is awesome. That makes me very happy. I love seeing a full house and knowing that there are a lot of people that are interested in the topic of winter wellness. And we want to stay healthy over the winter months. Those typically are the months where we deal with more cold and flu viruses, although you can really get them any time of the year. But we typically feel more cooped in during those months, right? Germs fly around more, and anyways. So we're going to talk about how we can stay healthy tonight. My name is Stacy, and I'm the Health, Temperance, and Health Ministries leader here at this church, the Brighton Seventh Adventist Church. This is my husband, Steve. He's the pastor here.
Hello.
And I've got a couple of lovely ladies that help us with our classes here. One of them you met when you came in. That was Marilyn. And this is Mary Lou, and she'll be assisting me tonight some. So just a couple little brief announcements we'll run over. You all got your handouts when you came in, so those will be things we'll be referencing as we go along. There were extra handouts from previous classes over here on the table, so you're welcome to grab any of those. I think most of you found the water, the tea, the bathrooms, all of that. There is on your table a little tub that has some paper and some pens in it if you need to take any notes, although much of what we'll talk about is in the handouts, but in case you need to write anything else down. There are also in there some little donation envelopes. We don't charge for our classes, but if by the time you leave tonight, you're like, wow, I got a lot out of that. That was totally worth whatever it's worth to you, and want to give something to help defray some expenses, you're welcome to do that, and you would turn that into Marilyn at the registration table. We have on your table a little business card. It tells you that we are on Facebook, so we encourage you to like our page. We're on YouTube. We have a channel. It's at New Beginnings Health Team, youtube.com/at New Beginnings Health Team, where we put recordings of our classes. So in case you miss a class, you want to catch something we've done before. In fact, we gave you a little half sheet that highlights a couple of the classes we did last year, and two classes that we did are related to the topic we're covering tonight. One of those was hydrotherapy treatments for respiratory illnesses. I will be referencing this class. It goes into more detail about some things I'll be talking about tonight that we demonstrated at that. So that would be a really perfect complement to tonight's class, as is the poultices and compresses class. So you saw on the flyer that tonight we're going to talk about onion poultices, but at this poultice class there was like 10 different types of poultices we used. So this is a great other complimentary class you will want to check out. So you can find those on our YouTube channel. And we're also on Meetup. And I understand we got several people here for Meetup tonight. Who's for Meetup? Let me see your hands. Yay. And these ones over here. Wonderful. Glad you guys found us there and are here with us this evening. Now, one other thing that we are offering tonight is some elderberries. And some of you guys, I already notified about this. I'm going to be showing how to make an elderberry syrup tonight. And so just as I was planning for that, I ended up purchasing some elderberries, and I like to buy a lot of my herbs from Mountain Rose Herbs. It's a very great herbal company, and they were running a 50% off sale on elderberries right before Christmas. So I bought 20 pounds for this class. So 50% off, and let me just tell you how much of a savings that really is, because we're selling them, a baggie will have a cup in it that would give you enough to make 2 recipes, which is a quart size of elderberry syrup. That's a lot of elderberry syrup. That's enough to take care of your entire family and your neighbors through the winter. And that we're giving you for $7. That same amount of elderberries, if you went down to Meijer and bought it in a little bottle form that's half this size, only 4 fluid ounces, it was $18 or $35. Anyways, I figured out that if you were buying it at the store, you'd be paying $575 to make the liquid elderberry that you could get for $7. So You can buy dried elderberries at some of the local health food stores, but it's about 75 cents more an ounce than what we're giving it to you here tonight. So anyways.
Thank you.
Yes, talk to Marilyn and let her know if you want those, and we will give you a bag of those elderberries. You can go home and make your syrup this weekend. Okay, let's see if there's any other important announcements. Oh, the other big announcement I want to make is about what's coming up next. We always like to highlight our next events. So, when you came in tonight, you saw this nice big banner there. Has the word creation on it, and each letter stands for a different word. It's an acronym. And so what we are going to be doing is starting 2 weeks from this evening, on a Thursday evening, this will be February 2nd, through the month of February and March, we're going to have a little health study class here. We'll call it Soup and Study. And some of you guys came to one we did last year. We did the same thing. So we get together for the evening at 6:30. We have a little meal. We have a plant-based soup because we are a plant-based cooking class as well as doing these wellness classes. So we have a plant-based soup, and then we go through a different topic. And Marilyn, would you mind just grabbing one of those lessons there and just bringing it up to me so I can just, yes, perfect. So I can just highlight what we're giving. You see a picture of it there on your flyer, but it's just 8 lessons, so we'll do it over 8 weeks. And it is on a different health topic, but from a biblical perspective. So we are a faith-based community, and we believe there's a strong relationship between your physical and your spiritual and your emotional well-being, and that God cares about all of that. So, Thomas, you came to many of these, didn't you?
I did.
And you enjoyed them, didn't you?
I love your classes.
And you brought some friends tonight too, so I appreciate that. So yes, bring a Bible if you have one, and we'll talk at health and scripture, and have soup and have some fellowship. So that will be every Thursday night from February through March. If that is of interest to you, these study guides will be free. Just let Marilyn know. She'll just jot your name down so we kind of have an idea how many might be coming, so we know how much soup to make. So that will be starting in 2 weeks. And there will be 1 week we will be taking off. That will be March 9th, and that's because we have our next cooking class on March 9th. And this one is called Give Them Something Better. America's longest living culture shares their family secrets. So we're going to talk about some of the longest living cultures in the world and how they eat. And the cookbook that this comes from, the author of is a friend of mine, Stephanie Howard. She lives in the Lansing area, and she's going to be coming and sharing recipes from her cookbook and will be a guest presenter at this cooking class. So if you'd like to come to that, just let us know and we'll RSVP. And we have always a dinner in connection with our cooking classes. So you get to eat all the food, and then you get to watch how all the recipes are made. So it's a lot of fun. All right, before we get into our presentation, I want to have prayer, and I have a special prayer request tonight. Those of you who've been attending our classes for a while know that Kim and Anna, our 2 members, have been part of this health team over the years. Kim did the poultice class with me last year. Their father and Kim's husband, Paul, passed away this week. Oh. And so their family is not represented here tonight because they're going through a great loss, and it's a loss to our church. And so I want to lift up the Ahern family this evening. So if you would pray with me for our class and for them. Dear God, we want to thank you for this time tonight to get together and talk about winter wellness and how we can stay healthy during these winter months. We thank you, God, that you have given us the health to be here this evening. We pray we will learn a lot. We'll be able to apply this and help our own families. And we especially lift up one family tonight, Lord, and that's the Aherns. Bless Kim and Anna and Brian and their extended family, Lord, as they're grieving the loss of their father and husband. Give them your comfort and strength during this time. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Thank you for doing that with me. Okay, so tonight, winter wellness. I want to explore some of God's natural remedies for preventing illness And what I want to say is that, first off, I'm going to make a little medical disclaimer here. And it's actually on the bottom of your big packet, the one that is stapled. And I'm going to just read this just to protect myself and any of my team. We are not certified herbalists, even though we are going to talk about herbs tonight. We are not certified herbalists or doctors or medical professionals. And what you will find in this handout that you got tonight hasn't been evaluated or approved by the FDA. It's not intended to diagnose or treat diseases. It's for educational and informational purposes only. We have just found these natural remedies to be beneficial from our own research and usage, and we encourage you to do your own research. You all good with that? Good. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about simple remedies. I want you to flip in your handout to page 18. I always like to start off with some kind of little devotional thought in every one of our classes. And tonight, my devotional thought is coming from a book that I really love called The Ministry of Healing. We actually have a couple copies there on the table. If you haven't gotten one of those before at our classes, you're welcome to grab one. But this chapter 8 of this book has a section on education and health principles. And I want us to look at that first paragraph. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that result from, what are those next words? A violation of laws of health. Many times people think, oh, I just got this disease because it just like appeared out of nowhere. No, disease is always a result of a violation of some law of health. Going on, in case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Unhealthful conditions should be changed, wrong habits corrected. Then nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and reestablish right conditions in the system. That's what we're going to be learning about tonight. When you get a flu, or you get a cold, or you get COVID, or you get cancer, or you get whatever, diabetes, whatever the disease is, it's because some law of health has been violated. And it's important to figure out what we did. Maybe we stayed up too late. Maybe we ate too much sugar over the holidays. Maybe we haven't been exercising. There may be some law of health that we have violated, which has put our body in a condition where it was susceptible to disease. So now that we can ascertain the cause, we can go to work to help assist our body in expelling those impurities and reestablishing right conditions. Okay? Now, next paragraph. There are some principles of health. Pure air, sunlight, abstemiousness, we would call that abstinence or temperance, rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, trust in divine power. These are the true remedies. Many of these are on this list of topics that we are going to cover in those 8 sessions. And these are the true remedies. Every person should have a knowledge of natural remedial agencies and how to apply them. It's essential both to understand the principles involved in the treatment of the sick and to have a practical training that will enable one to rightly use this knowledge. Tonight, my goal is to make it practical for you, because practical knowledge is what we need in medicine today, right? Absolutely. We need to know how to take ownership of our own health and to know what's happening in our bodies and how we can help our bodies to find healing. Now, here's the next part. This is where it's going to get a little bit hard. The use of natural remedies requires an amount of care and effort that many are not willing to give. Nature's process of healing and upbuilding is gradual, and to the impatient, it seems slow. So this is what happens. You get a headache, and you're like, Tylenol, Advil, like give me something quick, right? Doing a hot foot bath to alleviate that headache is going to take more time. It's going to take more effort. But it's natural, whereas the Tylenol and the Advil is not, okay? And many times people just want a quick fix, but that's not really the best for your body. Natural remedies take more care and effort, and some are not willing to give that. Then it says the surrender of hurtful indulgences requires sacrifice. Oh, well, if the way I'm eating is bringing illness, then I need to let some things go in my diet, and that takes sacrifice. And how many people are willing to do that? Not very many, right? You know, a person develops lung cancer because they smoked. They could have given up the cigarettes, but they just wanted to keep these things in their life, and then they just want a pill or some medicine to make you feel better. No, it's going to require some sacrifice. But in the end, it says, it will be found that nature untrammeled does her work wisely and well, and those who persevere in obedience to her laws will reap the reward in health of body and health of mind. Isn't that practical? I just love this. Now, the very next chapter, chapter 17, the use of remedies, starts off with almost the same way that chapter 8 does. Disease never comes without a cause. The way is prepared and disease is invited by, now it says a disregard of laws of health. Before it said a violation of the laws of health. Unfortunately, we bring much illness upon ourselves. But I'm going to finish with this thought in the next paragraph. The greater number, however, suffer because of their own wrong course of actions. They disregard principles of health by their habits of eating and drinking and dressing and working, and their transgression of nature's laws produces a sure result. When sickness comes upon them, many do not credit their suffering to the true cause and murmur against God because of their afflictions. But God is not responsible for the suffering that follows disregard of natural law. How many times do we blame God that we're sick, when really there's no one to blame except ourselves? So we want to learn how we can take care of ourselves so that we don't get sick. And if we do get sick, to make the necessary steps to help reverse things. We just did this last year, this last fall actually, an 8-week course called Reverse, reversing Diabetes Undone. Diabetes Undone, where we took 20-some participants through an 8-week program of helping them to reverse their diabetes. Sharon, you were at that class, and you loved it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and Angie, you were at that class, and your diabetes, it has improved. There you go. When we learned how, and you were at that class, and lost 20 pounds. Just by following the principles of learning how to reverse disease by figuring out what you're doing to violate laws of health. Go home and read the rest of that. There's so much good stuff in there, but just some encouragement for your journey. Okay, so you've had a busy day at work, you come home, and you're like, I got that something in my throat. My throat is starting to get a little sore throat there. Or you wake up and you just feel really run down, or you start to feel a little bit feverish, and you say, uh-oh, I'm coming down with something. You ever been there? Yep, we've all been there. And what you do in those next few hours is so important, because you're either on the path of being out sick for the next week or two, or in some cases longer. Some of these viruses these days are really bad. You're going to be out for a while, or you can do something right away to boost your immune system so you do not take that plunge, okay? Or you get that phone call that says, hey, we were all together at this event or whatever, and so-and-so has COVID, and you've been exposed, and you're like, oh no, I don't want to get sick, okay? Well, you may not be feeling sick yet, but your body might have picked up a virus. So what can you do at that moment to start boosting your immune system so you don't get sick? Okay, that's what we're starting off with. So I'm calling it a protocol for first signs of illness. Like I said, I'm not a doctor or anything like that. I'm going to tell you what I do when I'm in that situation, okay? I brought my medicine cabinet. This is my medicine cabinet right here. See all this? All these herbs, supplements and vitamins, and food, okay? This is my medicine. So this is what I do when I'm coming down sick, and I've tried to take the things I've done over the years and just synthesize it down into like step 1, 2, 3. And this is a lot for my own benefit too, because sometimes I forget some of these little steps. So this thick packet is the detailed information of everything and some of the science behind it. You also have a quick guide. That's 1 page. And I did this for you so that maybe this one you could go home and put inside of a piece of plastic or something to keep it nice and clean. And keep this one maybe in your medicine cabinet with all your herbs and supplements. So when you're starting to feel sick, you just grab this and you start going down this list, okay? So this is a one-page summary of the main points that are in the blue boxes on this handout. Okay, does that make sense? So now you know the lay of the land, where we're going. Okay, so the first step, you start to feel like you're coming down sick. What do? First thing, do not
No sugar.
eat any sugar. No sugar. That's no soda. That is no desserts. That's no refined sugar, and it's in so many different things. Read labels. Do not eat sugar. Why? Well, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 1973, this was a while ago, showed that sugar affects the function of the white blood cells for up to 5 hours after consuming sugar. For 5 hours after you eat sugar, your immune system is compromised. Now, most Americans eat sugar at every meal. All the time. Yes.
And then what's your take on artificial sweeteners, honey, and maple syrup?
I don't think artificial sweeteners are good for us anyways, but natural sweeteners like honey and maple syrup do have some good benefits to them. And I put in here, if you're going to use a natural sweetener, those are the ones I would recommend, or like dates or agave or things like that. In fact, we're using honey in some of our recipes tonight that are for when you are ill because they have antibiotic, antimicrobial benefits. But when it comes to refined sugar, it destroys white blood cells, okay? So if you're eating sugar regularly and then you get exposed, your body may not be in a good state right now to fight it off. So if you start to feel sick, stop eating anything that has any sugar in it. You really shouldn't eat sugar anyways, but especially then. Yes?
What about stevia? Is that good?
That's good. Yes, that is a good one. Did I not put that? Oh, it is on my list. Yes, that is a good one. Okay, next thing, drink lots of water. You want to flush out any toxins that might have come into your system, and it also helps to get nutrients to your cells. Water is a carrier for blood, okay? It helps your blood get where it needs to go. So drink lots of water, keep very hydrated, especially if you start to come down sick and start to develop a fever, even more important. Now, how much water should you drink? So in the big handout, in the action plan under drinking water, it says drink at least half of your body weight in ounces of water. So if you weigh 130 pounds, that would be 65 ounces. There are 8 ounces in every cup, so that would be 8 cups of water. If you weigh a little bit more than that, you would need to drink more water. That's the minimum amount of water you should drink every single day. And we're not talking about water that's in juice or water that's in soda or water that's in coffee. We're talking about water, okay? Now, you can add lemon to your water if you don't like the taste of water. That's actually very alkalinizing for your blood, so that's a good thing to do anyways. But you want to get up in the morning and drink 2 glasses of warm water, or not ice cold water. It helps get your digestion primed, your stomach primed for breakfast, and it helps rehydrate you after you've slept all night, okay? And then carry your water bottle with you through the day and just keep drinking. So that's number 2. Number 3, we're running through some of these quickly because then we're going to get to the ones that are going to take more time to show you. Number 3 is to get adequate rest. Good sleep is very important for your immune system. Research shows that if you lose 3 hours of sleep, you will actually decrease your immune function by 50%. So if you've ever stayed up late one night and then right after that you come down sick, that could be why. They also tell us that the night hours before midnight are when you're in your deeper levels of sleep. And that's when your body's really healing and repairing. If you stay up, you're a night owl, you're up after midnight every night watching television or something, you're not getting really good sleep. You're not experiencing REM sleep. So go to bed early, especially if you start to feel like you're coming down sick. Go to bed really early that night. Maybe get in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock, okay? Try to sleep at least 8 to 10 hours that night if you can. Because the more time you sleep that first night, the more your body is going to heal and rejuvenate. And if I do that, along with a couple of the other things I'm going to show you, in most cases, I will feel great the next day and I didn't come down with whatever I was feeling like I was coming down with, okay? So sleep is very important. You know, God designed our bodies for rest. In fact, in the very original creation story, when God created things in 6 days, on the 7th day, he rested. and he called all of us to rest too. And that was before evil and anything like that came in the world. So even in a perfect creation, God knows you need rest, a weekly rest. We call it the Sabbath. So take time for rest every night, every week. Now, number 4 is take immune boosting vitamins and foods. And some of those immune boosting vitamins that are some of the most common ones that you'll hear about is vitamin C and vitamin D. So vitamin C boosts the activity of phagocytes. These are the immune cells that go and swallow up harmful bacteria and particles. They promote growth and spread of lymphocytes, a type of immune cell that increases your circulating antibodies. If you get sick or get an infection, your body begins increasing vitamin C metabolism, which means your vitamin C levels will be reduced. And that's why it's important to take extra vitamin C when you are sick. So how much vitamin C should you take? Well, if you get a bottle of vitamin C, they'll say, supplement, a serving size is 1 tablet, that's 500 milligrams. So that would be more like a daily amount. But if you're starting to come down sick, you're going to want to take more than that. I would take, I put here 500 to 1,000 milligrams 2 times daily. So just go ahead and I'll pop down 4 of these. And there's different ways you can get vitamin C, but get extra vitamin C at the very beginning when you're starting to feel like you're sick. Now, another way to get vitamin C is through fruit. And what do I have in this bowl?
Citrus.
Lots of citrus, okay? So we are going to make our first recipe tonight, and that is your citrus blast smoothie. You want to grab that recipe out. Citrus blast smoothie. This is a great way to get a high dose of vitamin C, and it's a good breakfast too. So I'm going to put here in my blender, I'm going to be making I'm going to make a double batch to start with. I think I can get a double batch in my blender. And you're going to get to try this. So in my smoothie, I've got some different types of oranges here. These ones are like a Cara orange. They're the reddish ones. Now you notice some of I didn't take off all this pit. Why would I not take that off?
Because it has
It's good for you.
There's a lot of vitamin C in that, yeah. Excellent. Alrighty, I've got like 3 types of oranges in here. There's navels, what did it say, 3 oranges. So I gotta put 6 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, 6 oranges. Now we are putting in 1 organic lemon juice. I have 3 lemons in this, so I'm gonna put about 2/3 of this. Okay. Then we're gonna put in here a couple bananas, because I'm doubling this recipe. How many of you guys like to make smoothies for breakfast?
I do all the time.
Oh. We are on a green smoothie kick right now. We put this much greens in our smoothie, packed. And then your frozen fruit, your banana, and chia seeds. And you're getting so much nutrition every single day by doing that. Cruciferous vegetables like kale and all that stuff. Okay, what else am I missing? Oh, coconut water. And it calls for a cup of this. I'm gonna put 2 cups in.
And mango too.
Mango.
Oh yes, my frozen mango. There it is. Now coconut water is very hydrating. It's got a lot of minerals and vitamins in it too. It's better than a sports drink. It's very high in potassium. Potassium, I can't say that word tonight. As are bananas. So we're gonna get a lot of potassium into this smoothie. Okay, now we've got some organic mango chunks here. We're gonna put in 2 cups. That is definitely more than 2 cups. Oh, that's pretty close. Okay, I think that's everything, right?
It better be.
Squish.
make sure.
You know how I know to check this?
Yes.
Alrighty, citrus blast smoothie has been made. I'm gonna give this to my ladies. Mary Lou, Marilyn.
Where do you buy the organic?
I bought this at Kroger.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Is it
Simple
in the
fruit
frozen
brand.
food?
And the frozen food, yeah, where all the frozen fruit is.
Go back there and bring it out.
Alright, so there she's gonna go around and give you all a little sample of smoothie. How's that sound? Good. We have also put on your table a few crackers. Some of you may have already started snacking on those. I'm giving you a little something to eat just because one of the recipes you're going to get later has some raw garlic in it, and I don't want that on an empty stomach because that might not settle well. So we're going to give you a little something good in your tummy before you get the garlic. Remember, you're here to get well tonight, right? So we got to give you all the immune boosting things. Okay, so we have tried our Citrus Blast. We're going to get our Citrus Blast smoothie here in a moment. While you are going to be getting that, I'm going to talk about some of these other vitamins. So let's talk about vitamin D. Vitamin D, the research on vitamin D shows that one of its greatest benefits is preventing acute respiratory tract infections. The British Medical Journal in 2017 published a large meta-analysis of nearly 11,000 people, that's a pretty big study, from 25 trials conducted in 15 countries on whether taking vitamin D supplements help prevent colds, flu, and acute respiratory infections. It showed that vitamin D had a significant protective effect when it was given daily or weekly to people with the lowest vitamin D levels. The risk of having at least one acute respiratory infection was reduced from 60 to 30% in these people. So vitamin D can help protect your lungs from getting a respiratory tract infection. You know, the only time I really ever get to a doctor is when I get something that's a bacterial infection and maybe I have to get an antibiotic. But I try to prevent getting to that point by doing some of the things that we're talking about tonight. And vitamin D can help prevent those respiratory tract infections. Now, most Americans are low on vitamin D. And we live in Michigan, and guess what? We do not get enough sun to really get enough vitamin D. So you are probably low. I don't know anybody in Michigan who isn't low unless you're taking supplementation. We should be in the 60 to 75 range. Most Americans are in the 20 range. You should get your vitamin D levels checked if you haven't recently and see where it's at. Now, unless you know you're at a good level, if you're coming down sick, I encourage people to take extra vitamin D at that point. Now, every day you're supposed to take 5,000 milligrams. But if you're coming down sick, my philosophy is give yourself extra boost at that moment, okay? Now, vitamin D3 is one of the best ones to take for absorption. And I will start off with 20,000 units, which in a bottle like this is something like 15 drops or something. So it's a liquid form. And I just will take a bunch of that for the first couple days. And if my symptoms are gone, I'll go back to a normal dosage. But if I'm feeling ill, give it yourself an extra boost. Okay, smoothie is coming around.
You mentioned checking can we check our vitamin levels?
You can. I think you have to get a kit to do that. Or your doctor can do it through a blood test.
Or you can do muscle testing?
Yeah.
You can do a request, you can go online and just request it yourself.
Yes.
And pay for it.
Quest Diagnostics.
And
Yeah.
go and have it.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Absolutely. You should definitely have your vitamin D levels checked. There was a very fascinating studies that were coming out at the time of COVID too, as to Americans who had high vitamin D levels were less susceptible of getting sick than those who did not. So it's just good to have your vitamin D at the right level. Now, some other really good supplements and vitamins are your B vitamins. elemental zinc, and elemental zinc these are zinc lozenges, which are good for sore throats. Zinc is good, but zinc should be taken with quercetin, which helps with absorption of it. And you can actually get quercetin in a lot of different fruits and vegetables, like berries, elderberries, which we're going to get tonight, red onions, oregano, cranberries. It's a powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and virus inhibitor. N-acetylcysteine, or some people just refer it to as NAC, is another really good one. This is a free radical protection, and right here on the bottle it says normal immune system function. It produces glutathione, which is one of the body's most important antioxidants, and studies show that it relieves symptoms of respiratory conditions by acting as an expectorant and reducing inflammation in the lungs. You don't want inflammation in your lungs. That's what causes things like bronchitis and pneumonia and can get fatal. So helping to keep that inflammation down, NAC is a good one. And then one that you hear about a lot today is curcumin or turmeric, right? Yes. And this is anti-inflammatory, an antioxidant, antiviral, and has immune modulating properties. We're actually going to put some turmeric in one of our recipes tonight, but fresh turmeric. So I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, let's move on to elderberries. Anybody had a smoothie yet?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. And we put we didn't juice these oranges. We did not juice it because you're getting then all the fiber, and it makes it more like a smoothie because it's a little thicker than just a juice would be. But you're getting the fiber too. So, very good. Okay, let's talk about elderberries. Elderberries are mentioned on page 4. We're going to jump ahead for a moment. It's listed under my section, immune boosting herbs. Although I don't know if I would consider elderberries necessarily an herb, because it's a berry. But elderberries are anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, antiviral, and immune stimulating. They are exceptional in preventing and fighting colds, flu, and respiratory infections. Elderberries can reduce the duration of a cold or flu because it interferes with virus replication and it strengthens your cell walls to inhibit viral penetration. The Journal of International Medical Research showed that when the extract is used within the first 48 hours, that would be within the first 2 days, of the onset of flu symptoms, it can shorten the duration of flu by an average of 4 days. That means if you're taking elderberry syrup right away, your symptoms will be reduced, so you may only be out a couple days sick, where everybody else would have been out 6 days sick, and you were just out 2, okay? That's a significant reduction in helping your body fight that faster. Now, there was a lot of discussion about elderberries when COVID came out, because some were concerned that elderberries could create a cytokine storm. And you remember that this was something that they were having with certain patients who were getting an inflammatory response from the COVID, and some were concerned that elderberries might cause that. Now, elderberries, like echinacea, are an immune stimulant. There are some different types of immune boosting herbs and supplements. Some of them are more modulating, which just means that they help support your immune system. Others are more stimulating, and elderberry tends to be a little bit more of a stimulating one. However, now that more research has been coming out about elderberry, and I'm mentioning one here, a 2020, and these references are down in the notes, so you can look up these studies for yourself. But a 2021 systematic review of 1,187 records and 5 randomized trials on elderberries for the treatment or prevention of viral respiratory illnesses, the researchers found that elderberries reduced the duration and severity of the symptoms, and that there was no evidence that it overstimulated the immune system, producing a cytokine storm. So I don't think there is problem with you taking elderberry. If you did have a bad cold or flu or COVID or something, and your symptoms were getting progressively worse, I would stop taking elderberry at that point. But for sure at the beginning, you're not gonna have any issues. Elderberry is one of the safest supplements people can take. It's good for children, it's good for the elderly. And another thing about elderberry is it's something you can take all cold and flu season long as like a tonic. So you're gonna go hang out with some friends and you're like, I don't know if there's gonna be any viruses there. I'll just take some elderberry before I head out. You're gonna go on a trip, you take some elderberry, you know, you're feeling a little run down that day, maybe a little tickle in your throat, oh, take some elderberry. You can pretty much take it anytime you wanna take something. You could take a teaspoon of it every day over the cold and flu season, and it's very good for your immune system, okay? It's not going to overstimulate it. So let's pull out your elderberry recipe. That is what we are going to go with next. On this recipe, it kind of shows you what elderberries look like. On the back side actually is a picture of them kind of out in the woods. We actually forage for our own elderberries. Yes, they grow here in Michigan. It is called, we have the American elderberry here. There are some different types of elderberry. They grow often near places where water is, like a little creek or a little stream or a pond where the soil is moist. And in the summertime, there'll be these big clusters of like white flowers on these bushes. They're tall bushes, like almost like little trees. And there'll be these clusters of white flowers. But as the fall comes, those turn into dark purple berries. And you can collect and harvest your own and freeze them until you need them, or dehydrate them, which is what I do. And then I make my own elderberry syrup from my own berries that grow wild on my own property. How nice is that? We pick them usually in September, late September. Yeah, so keep an eye out for them when you're out and about, because you might find them growing in your own location. Now, you can also purchase elderberries. The ones that you're getting tonight, I got from Mountain Rose Herbs, or you can buy them at health food stores. If you do forage for your own, I put some tips on your handout, because you do not want to get them confused with pokeberries, which are poisonous. But there's quite a few major differences. So you should not have a mistake with that if you look at the instructions there. Another important thing about picking your own elderberries is you do not want to eat raw berries. Okay? The reason for that is because they have a toxic substance in them that will cause stomach distress, like nausea, stomach ache. And when you cook the berries, that evaporates out of it. So you won't have problems with it cooked, but you don't want to eat them raw, or you could get a stomach upset. Okay, so let us talk about our elderberries. So here's dried elderberries. These are the ones that you will be getting if you purchase those tonight. And in our recipe, it's very simple. It's going to be water, elderberries, and we will later add honey to it, and then you can put some optional things in there. Now, I just realized I didn't bring any water out here. Can you put 2 cups of water in there for me? Okay, so we're gonna put in my pot here my dried elderberries. This recipe is gonna make about a pint size. And that's a pretty good size to start with. If you make a lot of elderberries syrup too soon and you're not gonna get around to using it up, it could go bad in time, depending on how much honey and things are in it to preserve it. You'll know when it's bad. It will turn into wine. And it will be fizzy. And it could grow mold on top. Yes.
You can't freeze it?
You can freeze it. That's what my mother-in-law does. She makes it and then she freezes it in ice cube trays and then takes it out as she needs it. So, yeah, that's a good way to do it too. Okay, so I'm putting a half a cup of dried elderberries. If I had fresh, I would double that, because you're going to have more water in those larger berries. So you would double the amount if you're using fresh or frozen. Then we will put our 2 cups of water in here when that comes. Now you can add some optional add-ins. And these are for flavor. I'm gonna throw a cinnamon stick in here. That one you're gonna get tonight actually has a cinnamon stick in it. You could put cloves in it, or orange, or lemon peel, vanilla bean. These are just things that are gonna give a little extra, thank you, flavor to it. And then you can add some optional immune boosting supplements. So what I'm gonna throw in ours tonight is rose hips. And rose hips are, yeah, from roses. Grown roses, it's the little piece that's on when all the petals fall off. And they're very high in vitamin C. In fact, back in the day in Europe, when you couldn't get citrus, this is how they would give soldiers and people like that vitamin C, is through rose hips. I think I'm gonna put about a quarter cup in there. So this is just adding extra vitamin C to my recipe. Now some other things that you could put in here if you wanted would be things like echinacea root, you could put that in there. Astragalus, I'll be talking about that in a moment. I sometimes put a couple slices of fresh ginger in there, and yeah, very good. I normally just make a basic batch and don't put all those extra things because I want to take it more frequently, and things like echinacea is more of an immune stimulant, and I don't want to take that on a daily basis. Okay, that would be good if you were like coming down sick and you were making a batch for just times of illness, but if you're taking it as a tonic, I'd probably leave it out. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this over here, turn on, and we're going to bring it to a boil, and after it comes to a boil, then we're going to simmer it so that it's just like a very slow, low boil for about 20 minutes, 20-30 minutes. We have 2 cups of water in there. We're trying to cook it down to about half-ish of that amount, a third to about half of that amount, okay? And that will also cook out the toxin, it's hydrocyanic acid, will evaporate out. And then we will finish our recipe. Okay, we have elderberry syrup here, or is this the flutonic one too?
This is.
Okay, so you're going to be getting, don't drink them just yet, okay? She's going to set them out your tables, but hold off on these. You're going to be getting a flutonic and an elderberry syrup. We will be taking the flutonic one first and following it up with the elderberry syrup, because the elderberry syrup tastes a lot better than the flutonic. If you decide to reverse that, that's your choice. I'm just telling you the order I suggest.
Refill your water.
All right. So while that is going, let's talk about the Nature's Flu Shot. So that's the other one that you're going to be getting. Let's talk about that recipe. And that one is on the other one that has the pineapple on it. Nature's Flu Shot. So some of the other very high immune boosting foods that you can eat is garlic and ginger and onions. And this recipe has garlic and ginger in it, as well as lemons, raw honey, and pineapple. Now let me just explain what is in here and why these are important. Okay, so lemons are very high in vitamin C, right? Yeah. So that's why we have those in there. Garlic is basically nature's antibiotic. It is anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic. There isn't a drug out there that is as broad spectrum as garlic is. And raw garlic is where the best properties are. Even cooked garlic, though, is still very good for you. But you're going to get even more benefit when the garlic is raw. Now, there's not a lot of ways I like to eat raw garlic. I think probably the only other way I can think of I do is in a salad dressing, like an olive oil, lemon juice, some fresh garlic in there. But when you're coming down sick and you want to give yourself an extra dosage of garlic, it's hard to get a lot of raw garlic down. So this recipe is one way to try to get some of that garlic down and mask it a little bit with the pineapple juice. Now the other key antiviral in here is ginger. Ginger is an antiseptic, antimicrobial, antibiotic, and it can actually stop an infection in its tracks and prevent an infection from occurring in the first place. Then we have raw honey in here, and honey is an antibacterial, antimicrobial. It kills and slows the spreads of microorganisms. It's anti-inflammatory. It can reduce swelling in the tissues, and it can help soothe a sore throat, and is an effective cough suppressant. So if you're coming down with a cough or you're dealing with a sore throat, honey is really good. And that's why they say put a little honey in your teas, you know. So we're putting some honey in here, and we're putting raw honey. I just bought this. I like to buy my honey actually from local beekeepers. But if you can't find that, this is a good alternative. This is just Costco's Michigan's raw unfiltered honey. You'll know your honey is raw and unfiltered because in time it will get thick and crystallize, right? That tells you you got the right kind of honey. Just warm it up and it will go back to a liquid. So we're going to put this in here. Now, honey should not be given to a child that's under 12 months of age. So you would use a different sweetener, like agave or maple syrup or something like that. Same with the elderberry syrup. If you're giving it to an infant, you're going to have to make a version that is safe, that doesn't have honey in it. Now the last ingredient in our flu tonic, oh, I got to turn this down. To simmer, is going to be pineapple juice. And I have here just some organic pineapple juice. So I bought at Kroger, Knutson's brand. It calls for 3 cups. And the reason we're putting pineapple juice in here isn't just because of flavor. Pineapple is high in bromelain, which is an enzyme that is anti-inflammatory. This is beneficial because it reduces inflammation that can lead to things like pneumonia, and it's also a natural cough suppressant. So if you're dealing with any kind of lung situation, respiratory situation, pineapple is going to be very good. You don't want to get pneumonia, right? So this is a good flu tonic to help with that, and you got that pineapple. So we got our pineapple juice in here. Now we're going to add our garlic. And the more the better. But it also makes it a little harder to get down, so you're going to have to figure this out for yourself. But I'm going to put about a bulb in there. Okay, then I'm going to throw some ginger in there. I've got I'm going strong today, I hope. And then I'm throwing in there some turmeric. So anybody seen fresh turmeric before?
No.
Yeah. Okay, so it kind of looks a little bit like ginger. You know, this is ginger. Turmeric has kind of a similar look to it. And you can see it's orange. And this is the fresh turmeric, you know, that they grind up and all that. So we're just throwing, this is highly anti-inflammatory, okay? We want that when we're coming down sick. So throw that in there. And honey, my honey. 2
For the
tablespoons.
ginger and the turmeric, do you leave that little paper thin skin on there?
Yes,
Is that
I am,
fine?
because I'm going to strain it when I'm done.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
I didn't know if you could.
We're going to estimate that was 2 tablespoons. Okay. I have everything in there. Oh, my lemons.
So is turmeric good as a detox because it's anti-inflammatory?
I don't know if it's a detox so much. I know it's just good for muscle pain, joint pain, most diseases are related to inflammation in your body.
But turmeric has been in a lot of the cleanses that I've done. So
Yeah, that
I
is
would
true.
say,
So I would say
Is
probably-
turmeric normal, in most other cultures use that as a base or as a, how they make it with rice very often as part of their daily supplement or their staple. I could be wrong, but because
yeah,
when I was in Greece, everybody was buying it by the bags full.
okay. I don't know how much other cultures do.
pretty good.
How
Now,
often-
it gets very foamy. That's the garlic. And depending how good your blender is, you may need to strain this. To me, the smoother it is, the easier it is to go down. So,
How many times a day would you take this?
something in there didn't get completely blended because it clumped. I put on the recipe a half a cup to a cup 4 times a day. But that might be a little aggressive. You may not be able to get that much down, and you may have an easier time taking it with a meal. I wouldn't take it on an empty stomach because it's strong. Now I'm straining it to make sure I get, because I have a few chunks of garlic that I didn't blend it long enough. So for sake of time, I'm not gonna, I had definitely chunks in there. Now I would also, this is my personal opinion, I also try to like skim off some of that extra froth on top, the foamy stuff. I don't really like that. Okay. You guys ready? Okay. At the count of three, hold, take it, and then have your elderberry ready to go afterwards.
Not that anyone of you would know what a chaser is.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. It's strong, huh?
Have you tried it with the tomato juice?
Yes, I have tried it with the
Very,
tomato
very
juice.
good.
It kind of makes more like a V8 type of flavor.
Yeah, I would think so. Sure. Was she had a substitute?
Okay.
Tomato juices.
And then you did your elderberry. How was the elderberry? That's good.
Elderberry's good. My dad puts it on his ice cream.
You guys are good sports. Thank you.
It was not as high of garlic.
Okay, so while our elderberry juice is still simmering over there, I'm gonna let that go for just a couple more minutes. It's pretty close to being done. While that is just finishing up, let's talk about a couple other immune stimulating herbs. And I mentioned earlier astragalus root. And I have, I'm just gonna, you might take these from the other room. If anybody wants to go home with some Nature's Flu Shot, come and see me. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull this over here, closer viewing. Okay, so astragalus. This is one I only learned about a few years ago, and it's a favorite of mine because to me, this one will help me fight off an infection or cold so fast. There's different forms it comes in. It's a root. This is where the root has been ground up into a powder. This makes it very easy just to put a little bit in a smoothie in the morning, and you can use it throughout your cold flu season.
What does it taste like?
It doesn't really have a taste, it's just chalky.
How much would you use?
I don't know that it gives an exact amount on here. I just do a little bit. You might compare it to like a capsule. One capsule here is a serving size. This is the capsule form. I've gotten it in another form of capsule, and here I have it in an extract form. American Herb Shop is another one I buy a lot of my herbs and extracts particularly from. I like extracts that are not alcohol based but are glycerin based, and these ones are vegetable glycerin based. They tend to be slightly sweeter because of that. So this is, and that one is listed in here as a source for purchase.
Do they last as long?
They do not last as long as an alcohol base does. But an alcohol base, you sometimes have to put it in something hot to evaporate out the alcohol taste. Or this, you could just go straight into your mouth and it tastes great. Let me just say this before I talk about some of these other herbs and such. Herbs, God designed to help our body in its healing process. And the amazing thing about many herbs is that there are many herbs that accomplish the same thing. And it's like your body, when it receives the herb, it figures out what it needs from that herb, and that's how it uses it. So they're far more broad spectrum than like normal medicine is. They're also very safe. There are, of course, some herbs that you wouldn't want to take for certain things, so you need to do your own research. For example, I mentioned ginger, which isn't necessarily an herb, but one of the things that a person would not want to take ginger, and I'm just going back here to review that, is if you have a blood clotting disorder or on a blood thinning medication, because it's a natural blood thinner. So if you're taking a lot of, and if you have that tonight, you did not get enough ginger tonight to worry about that. But if you are on a blood thinner, you wouldn't want to eat a lot of ginger because it could make your blood even thinner. But you may end up, and you may talk to your doctor, maybe you should just take ginger instead of your blood thinner medication, you know? Find a more natural way to do it, right? So you want to do your own research and to see how things relate. Now, when it comes to immune boosting herbs, one of the questions some people might ask is, what if I have an autoimmune disease where your immune system is overactive, okay? So I put a link to an article that you can read, that I read, that helped to talk about which of these are maybe a little bit safer for a person with an autoimmune disease. But if you have that, do some research before just picking any immune stimulating herb. So I really love astragalus. It's been used in the treatment of cancer, to prevent growth of tumors. It alleviates symptoms of chemotherapy. It boosts white blood cells. It's anti-inflammatory. It's great for your lungs. And it's an aptogen, which means it helps your body deal with stress. So if you're under a lot of stress, this is a really good one for helping to regulate that. Another one, echinacea. This is probably one of the most researched and talked about herbs out there. It's best used at the onset of illness, and this is the root form. There's also, I think I have a tincture form of it around here somewhere. Oh, here's a capsule form of it, and here is a tincture form of it. And this one's with golden seal. The key with echinacea is it's best used at the very beginning of illness because it helps to stop viruses from entering your cells and shortens the duration. But once you're like full-blown sick, echinacea isn't really going to accomplish anything for you at that point, okay? So it's best at the very beginning, those first, maybe a couple days. And if you are allergic to the aster family, the Asteracea family, you won't want to take it because it's part of that family. Oregano is another really good one. This is an oregano oil. But even oregano that you grow in your herbal garden is very good as an antiviral, and it's extremely high in antioxidants. So it's an excellent one. You can if you do a steam inhalation for a respiratory condition, and I have in here instructions on how to do a steam inhalation. So if you're needing to open up your bronchioles, open up your head, help with breathing issues, you can put some oregano oil in your water that you're breathing in that steam, and that's very good. Now, some other good herbs for respiratory health that are more of, the word is I should know how to say this, demulcent, I think is how you say it. These are herbs that help with soothing membranes. So have you ever had one of those like really bad coughs where you're just like, this racking dry cough, you can't get rid of it, you got all this mucus, your throat is sore, you're feeling all congested? Well, there are certain herbs that can be very soothing for your whole respiratory system and help to be an expectorant to get that mucus and gunk out. So one of those is marshmallow, not the treat marshmallow, but the herb marshmallow, either the leaf or the root. Another one is licorice root. I don't have that one here on my display. That's another good one, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, and it's good for influenza and pneumonia. Although you don't want to take licorice if you have low potassium levels or high blood pressure. Tulsi or holy basil is another one that's very good. It's good for bronchitis and asthma. It's another expectorant. Mullein is one that I just pick wild. So this is a fuzz. If you come look at it afterwards, it's a very fuzzy leaf. It grows out in the pastures and fields, and it's got like all these long leaves that are very furry, and then it has like a cone of like yellow flowers at the top. Yeah.
Nature's toilet paper.
Yes, they call it nature's toilet paper. If you're out in the woods, that's where you would go. That's mullein, and it's excellent for cough, cold, flu, respiratory. So I just pick it, I just dry it, and then you put it in a tea. And it's very soothing for reducing inflammation and irritable respiratory conditions. Thyme, like what you would grow in your herb garden, is another very effective one for chronic and acute bronchitis. Very relaxing for your bronchioles and helps relieve asthma, whooping cough, laryngitis, bronchitis, and dry coughs, and thins and moves mucuses. Elecampane is one I have never grown yet, but I'm hoping to put that into my herb garden at some point. It's very good for more of that deep-seated stuck mucus, that more damp cough. And then sage, like the kind that you would put in your herb garden. This is also very good for all respiratory conditions. So when you dry your sage, we grow it here, we dry it, and then it goes in my culinary as well as good in teas for respiratory illnesses. And then I always like throw in some peppermint in there because that's a very calming for the nerves, eases nausea. Now some of these you buy at a store, like this one, throat coat, but you look at the ingredients and it's licorice, marshmallow root. It's like a lot of these ones that we're talking about. They've just kind of created a blend from it. And you can make your own blends by getting your own herbs and combining them together. And then when you've got, let's say, a cough or a bronchial thing going on, you go and grab that blend you've made and make yourself some tea. And just use, these like little herbal bags to make it, and put a little honey in there. And very soothing. Now there are some herbs that are very good for, that is definitely done. There are herbs that are good for fevers as well. And some of those are yarrow and boneset, ginger, and catnip. When I was an infant, a little girl, that my mom was into herbs, and she would make us catnip enemas. My husband said, that's too much information. But for an infant who can't drink a tea and they had a high fever, she would give us a catnip enema, and it would bring our fever right down. And it's very safe for children. So, and then you can combine it with chamomile, some elderberry.
Now, you're not talking the catnip that you give to cats.
It is the same thing.
Yes, it is the same.
Yes. Yes, it is the same one the cats love. Yarrow is one of the best ones for, where's my yarrow? For fevers. And it helps. So here's the thing about a fever. The body, when it is trying to fight an illness or an infection, the body's response is to create a fever. The reason for that fever is that it helps to boost white blood cell count. It's helping to kill the virus. Some viruses and bacteria will die immediately in a fever state. But conventional medicine has told us that if you have a fever, you need to immediately take something to get rid of that fever. And so you take a Tylenol or something to immediately suppress the fever. But unless the fever is getting way too high, it's better to let the fever run its course. because it's your body's way of healing the infection, okay, and fighting the illness. So what herbs do is they don't stop the fever, they just aid your body in doing what it's supposed to do. So yarrow will help your fever come up a little sooner. So let's say you're starting to feel a little feverish. You take a hot fever bath. In here it talks about taking it, basically it's just a hot tub bath. You take a hot tub bath, you drink a cup of yarrow tea, and then after you get out of that hot tub bath, you wrap up in your blankets and everything and you go to bed and your fever rises and breaks, okay? So this has aided your fever. Now this other one called bone set is for like those kind of fevers where you just feel so achy and you just like your whole body feels like it's breaking. It was called bone set because it helps with those type of fevers, or the ones where you like get all sweaty and then you get all chilled and then you get all sweaty again, and it's like fluctuating back and forth. So the Lord has created so many beautiful things to help us in our healing, and they're so much cheaper than going to the doctor.
We don't listen to it.
Right?
And they're quicker.
They're quicker. And you can grow them yourself and have them in your own backyard. Now, I need someone for my team. I need some water because my elderberry syrup here is too dry. I kind of lost it. Yeah, I need some water. I need my my measuring cup and the strainer. Not too much to ask, right? Okay, while they are going to grab all of that, let me take you to page 7 and talk, in the last time we have here, I want to talk about hydrothermal therapy, or hydrotherapy. How many of you have heard this term before? Okay.
I'm not in that term, steam bath.
All right, and I need 2 cups of water and my measuring cup.
Oh, what are you making?
I'm just taking this elderberry syrup and straining it out. Okay, hydrotherapy. We actually did a whole class on this, so go to our YouTube channel and watch it. It talks about the science of it, the history of it. This was one of the main ways that they healed people 100 years ago. You think about old sanitariums like Battle Creek Sanitarium, some of these healing spas. It is the therapeutic external use of water, hot and cold. Today, maybe the closest thing you would equate it to is something like a Swedish sauna, or where people do a sauna and then they jump in a cold lake afterwards. Basically, what hydrotherapy is doing. Okay, thank you. I need the measuring cup, the 4-cup measuring cup. Yes. So we are straight. So because of this little electric burner I had over here, it was hard to manage the temperature. So some of my water evaporated out, which is why I asked them to get me a little bit more. And that can happen. So if it does, just add a little bit more water to it, because we're trying to get about 2 cups worth, or thereabouts, out of this. And then the other thing that we're going to do is, before we add the honey to it, we have to check the temperature, because when it comes to raw honey, you do not want to add it when it's very hot, or it will kill the beneficial, thank you, the beneficial properties.
I use honey in tea all the time. And is that above 110?
I think it's under 110 degrees.
So tea it wouldn't kill, because tea.
Okay.
I think, yeah, that was, you're trying to, yeah.
As soon as the tea
Not
bag
higher
cools,
than the
you
heat of our
use
body.
it. I didn't
Yeah.
know that, so I have to be careful.
Okay, so I'm gonna just check. I have here just a kitchen thermometer, and I'm just gonna check and see what mine is. Come on, why is this not popping out? Okay, let me grab the one I had right here. Right now it's saying gonna do is it's gonna cool a little bit as soon as I get it out of here. You strain it. I like to smash the berries, so I'm getting every last little bit of juice out of there. That's good enough for demo purposes. Now I'm going to just check the temperature again. Okay, it's good. So what I'm going to do at this point is add my honey. Now, the key with elderberry syrup is if you want to keep it preserved for a longer period of time, you want to have enough honey in here to, this is going to help to preserve it, yes. There are different ways that you can do it, and if you look at the recipe, it says in the recipe that you want to have at least half the amount of your liquid as honey. And in this case, we've got about a cup, so we're going to put a half a cup of honey in here. Now you can add additional honey, which will preserve it for longer. You can add 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice or a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and that will also help preserve it. Now this isn't making a whole lot, so you could probably drink this up in the next 2 months or so. So this might be fine, but if you're making a bigger batch, you don't want it to ferment, unless you're gonna freeze it, like she said. Then you would preserve it. Okay, so we are going to add a half a cup of honey, and our liquid is still hot enough that it will dissolve the honey, yes. But it's not so hot that it's going to kill the good properties of the honey.
And that,
I don't know where my spoon went. I think you took my spoon. Oh no, there's my spoon. Okay. This is very simple, isn't it?
yes.
Look, it's so nice.
They charge a lot for it in store.
Oh yeah, this would be like $80 right here. Yeah, you just mix it up, and then you put it in a glass jar and put it in your fridge. Keep it in your fridge. And there you go. Elderberry syrup, guys. Okay.
So it keeps for like 2 months, you would say,
Yeah.
with the honey in it.
Yeah. If you're gonna keep it for like all winter long, you would probably want to add more honey, or the lemon juice or the apple cider vinegar will help the acidity level to keep it preserved a little longer. Okay. How are we doing on time here? Could I take another 20 minutes of your time? I know some of you guys probably are thinking about going, but I wanted to show you how to do a hot foot bath for congestion. I don't have time to show you how to do all the different hydrotherapy treatments. There are a lot I put in your packet, and I would say that if you're starting to come down sick, the first one I would do is this hot and cold contrast shower. What this will do, basically it's this. It's very simple. The details are there. But you take a hot shower, like hot shower, get yourself hot, and then turn it to cold. Okay? Turn it to cold, as cold as you can take it, spin around, and then turn it back to hot. The first time you won't be able to stay that cold for very long. Your goal is to get in there stay in it for 20 to 30 seconds. But the first time you're not going to be able to stand that. And then you get hot again, turn it back to the cold. This time it doesn't feel as cold. And keep cycling that at least 3 or 4 times, okay? Then end with the cold. And when you get out of the shower, you will be pink and rosy. You will feel so invigorated. If you go to bed after that, you're going to sleep really good. And what you did was a couple things. You just created a ton of white blood cells. And the white blood cells are the immune fighting ones, okay? The other thing that you did is you boosted your circulation. And you have, when you were hot, all your vessels were like open and dilated, right? And then as soon as you turned on the cold, what happened to all of them? They constricted, right? And it pushed the blood out. And then you went back to the hot and they opened back up. So you created this pumping action of blood coming in and out, blood coming in and out. So you have just boosted the circulation in your whole body, which has helped with your immune system, okay? And there's so many wonderful benefits of just doing a hot and cold contrast shower. It is the easiest form of hydrotherapy, and it is amazing. Now, there are a few times when you might want to do a more gentle transition from warm to cool. For example, if you're pregnant, or you've got advanced diabetes or heart disease, you know, because you don't want to shock your system too much. But for most people, you can do that. Now, I'm gonna show you a hot foot bath. This is very simple, but this is an excellent treatment for when you're coming down sick, you got a headache, you've got congestion. This is on page 12. So here's the things that it's very good for. To prevent or shorten a common cold, flu, or cough by increasing white blood cell activity. Internal congestion, whether that's a headache, chest congestion like bronchitis, pelvic congestion like menstrual cramps or constipation or nervous digestion, hypertension, warm the body or prepare for a cold treatment, stop a nosebleed, eye pain, eye inflammation, earache, sore throat, so many things. This is creating a circulatory response in the body. What we're going to do is we are going to bring heat to the feet, and we're going to bring blood flow to the feet because that's what's getting heated, okay? And that's going to pull away from blood where it is congested. It might be congested in your head because you got a headache, or you may be congested in your chest. It's pulling it away from those congested areas. Now, for me to do this demonstration, I need a volunteer. Somebody who wants some immune system boosting and would like just to be relaxed. Come, Robin. All right, Robin, all you have to do is take off your socks and boots. Yep, very, very simple.
When I come home from work and my feet are killing me.
Yeah, this is going to be so relaxing. Okay, you're just going to sit right here. And they're going to bring me a hot bucket here in a second. Robin got chosen. Now, Robin, I just need to ask you, are you diabetic? Okay. If a person is diabetic, then we can't raise them, and they have loss of sensation in their feet, neuropathy, then you don't want your water temperature above 102 degrees because they might not be able to feel it, okay? But the other time you wouldn't use this is if a person is unconscious, has a frostbite, lymphedema, or vascular disease, like arteriosclerosis. So we have here, yes, you are all ready, girl. Okay, so this is very simple. You're just gonna have a bucket of warm water, hot water. Yep. Lift them up just a little bit more. Awesome. How's that feel? So hot? Okay, let's just check the water temperature and see what it's at.
You just have to get used to it.
Yeah.
Just like a hot bath.
Okay, it is currently 111 degrees. Okay, so that's about right. 102 to 112 is what you're aiming for. Some people can take a little bit more, some people can't. Then what we're going to do in order to help her body just warm up more is wrap her in a blanket. And we have here
It's even better.
a nice warm blanket for you.
Good night.
Okay, and this is a wool blanket, so it's going to trap in the heat really well.
Do you have the timer on?
I don't, but I will. Okay, I have to check it. All right, so we're going to just keep her in there for a little while. As her water cools down on her feet, we add more water. You do not want this to turn into a tepid foot bath. It's called a hot foot bath, okay? So we add hot water as needed to help keep her feet nice and warm. Now, because she's wrapped up in the blanket, at some point she might start to feel like she's getting a little hot or a little sweaty. Normally, you would go for this treatment for like 20 to 30 minutes. We are not going that long, okay? We are doing an abbreviated version because of time. But if she was getting a little bit hot or sweaty, we want to keep her head cool. So we would use a washcloth and some cold water. And we would place this on her forehead. Now, right now, I'm not going to do that because right now that might chill her because she's not hot yet. But when she was warming up, we would do that. We would also, if she's getting a little hot, give her a little water to drink. Would you like a little bit of water? Keep her hydrated and cool. Now, when we talked about a hot fever bath, it's kind of similar, except in a fever bath, you're submerged in water. You're in a hot tub, okay? And if you're doing a treatment there, you're going to have somebody assisting you who's keeping your head cool because your whole body is going to start heating up. In a hot fever bath, what we're doing is we're aiding the body in creating an induced fever. So remember how we talked about how our body creates a fever to fight a virus? So with a hot bath, you're helping your body to come up with that fever quicker, okay? And so you're creating an induced fever. You keep the head cool because otherwise you'd pass out.
Yeah.
And when I mean cool, maybe not just the forehead, but maybe the whole cold cloth right over your whole head, you know? Keep their head cool, give them something to drink, and they'll stay in that hot fever bath for 15, 20 minutes. Now there are some protocols on that on your handout. If their heart rate starts racing, you want to end that treatment right away because we don't want to cause any problems. But after you end with your hot bath, you always are going to end with cold afterwards because we want to now close all of those blood vessels that we have dilated. And in the case of a hot fever bath, we're now trapping all that warmth in the body. And then you go to bed afterwards and you'll break that fever during the night and you'll feel so good the next day. And you've also greatly boosted your immune system as a result, okay? Very simple things that we think, oh, I take showers, I take baths, but now we're taking them in a therapeutic way. You may have done put your feet in hot water before too, but you never thought of it in a therapeutic way, okay? How is your water?
Feels good still.
Feels good still? So if your water is still tingly, is it tingly to your feet? Okay. So it's still tingly to your feet, then it's still warm enough. Once it cools down, you would add more. If you get a headache, this is a great thing for a headache because what is happening is all that congestion of blood that's up here that's causing the headache is going down to her feet, okay? And you're relieving the headache. Same thing with a nosebleed. You only have to do this for 5 minutes and it will stop a nosebleed, okay? Now at the end of this treatment, we will end with cold water on her feet because again, we are closing down those blood vessels, those open dilated blood vessels. It actually feels good after your feet have been in the hot water all that time.
It's time to go to cold.
Yeah, I think it's great. Any question? Any question about this?
Oh, can you put Epsom salt on that water?
You could put Epsom salts in the water. Yes, you could. You could put essential oils in the water. You could do a variation of this on yourself by just sitting on the edge of your bathtub and fill your tub up with the hot water. And then when you're done, turn on the cold and rinse off your feet in the cold. So you can do some variations of some of these for yourself. Okay, because of time, we're going to end this treatment after what, 5 minutes? Rather than 15. And we never had to use the one on her head because she never got that super hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer the hot into the cold, and you're going to just set them in there for 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, that's good.
Good job.
Is it cold?
Yes, it is very cold. Very cold. Thank you.
And then do some stimulation, some nice friction rub. That is also very good for circulation. And then have them put some socks on.
Are you
Afterwards.
gonna do a couple rounds?
Nope, just doing the one.
Oh,
Just
okay.
every time. Alrighty, Robin.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
I will put this all back together.
So like, oregano, essential oil in there, would that increase the, cause your pores are so porous?
Your
Would
feet-
that help with the infection?
Yeah, your feet actually absorb so much. In fact, one of the treatments that we didn't actually even get to demoing tonight was with the onion. But I'm going to show you one thing related to that. This common onion is very good for anything related to cough. In fact, there's a whole handout I gave you called medicinal onions, right? And on that sheet, it mentions that if you have a bad cough, you can slice just raw onion, put it on the bottom of your feet, and then put some saran wrap maybe to hold it in place, and put a sock on, and your cough will subside because it's absorbing it through the bottom of your feet. You can take this same onion, I just steamed it today in a steamer, or you could bake it, cut it in half, and then you can squeeze out a little bit of this juice, put it in your ear if you have an ear infection, take this rest of this onion, put it on your ear, wrap it with some gauze, like a ace bandage to hold it in place, and this will pull the infection out of your ear.
Cut it up in pieces?
No, just put the whole onion on it.
Cook.
Yeah. And you can put some of the juice. You want it, yeah, it's best if it's warm. This one's not warm right now. But when it's warm enough to the touch. And the juice that you squeeze out, you can put inside your ear, and it will go down in there and help kill the infection. If you take these onions and you just cut them up, like, you know, like you would make a stir fry, and take your skillet, put your onions in your skillet with just a little bit of water and saute that. When you're done, and they're now soft, then take an old t-shirt or a piece of a sheet, an old sheet, yeah. And I would probably do one layer. This one I would have to cut in half. But put it on your cloth, and then you're gonna fold that over and put this on your chest, okay? And then on top of that, put like an electric heating pad or a one of those hot packs, like a rice pack or something like that. So there's something warm there, or even a hot, damp towel, and then some towels on top of that to hold, trap in the heat. And those onions will work as a poultice to again break up the infection in the lungs. Okay? So many amazing things that onions can do. You can use them for sunburns or inflammation. Something that's in almost everybody's kitchen, and yet has amazing medicinal properties. The same idea with a hot pack on the chest is using what we call hot compresses or hot fomentations. And if you go back and watch the class we did called Hydrotherapy for Respiratory Illnesses, we actually had a patient on a massage table, and we did a full-length treatment with a hot foot bath and hot moist towels on the chest and on the back. And it's like about a 40-minute treatment that is, again, a full body immune stimulating. It is bringing blood flow into the lungs. Your lungs area will look very pink afterwards. And it helps to break up infection and congestion in the chest. So if you're coming down with a respiratory thing, you don't want to get pneumonia or bronchitis, it's a wonderful treatment for bringing healing to your lungs and to help prevent your illness getting way worse. And being able just to breathe really well afterwards too. Helps to boost oxygen levels. Yes?
Just curious, have you heard, same thing with Valium for your ear infection, have you heard the same thing with garlic, putting garlic oil
Well,
in your ear?
you could. Garlic is much stronger, and so sometimes garlic will burn in areas where onions would not. So that might be something you might want to consider.
Sharon had a question too.
Sharon, and then we'll go to people.
My grandmother used to eat bread and butter and onion sandwiches when she
Was
didn't
not
feel
feeling
good.
well? Yeah, there you go. It's very good antiviral, yes.
There is an oil that is a mullein and garlic oil that I use for my ear
For
infection.
your ear, mullein and garlic. Okay, well there you go. An example.
Do you need organic or like red or
Is it
sweet
Mullen?
Vidalia, or is one that's better than others?
I don't know
Is
that
it
there's one that's
called
better than
elephant ear?
others.
Isn't it
Just
called
a
elephant
regular
ear?
yellow onion will work.
Just whatever you
Yep,
Well,
whatever you
see,
got.
Or
there's
red?
one that looks
Stick to the
like-
yellow
The
versus
yellow,
red.
the red onions tend to be a little bit sweeter, so I think
But the
that
actual
these would be a little
leaf
stronger.
itself
You know, the ones that can make your eyes cry?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
My mother-in-law is 93, and I was talking to her about some of these natural remedies. She goes, you know what? My mom used to do that. The doctor used to tell us to do those things.
Yes.
So 90 years ago, doctors
anymore.
prescribed this.
Yes, these are things that have been lost in our culture, and they were done 100 years ago, and your great-grandparents knew about these things. So it's time to get them back, and to learn them, and to apply them, and you can prevent having to go to a doctor. I just have a friend this week who went in for sepsis from a UTI infection, and sat in the waiting room for 2 days, basically, because they couldn't even get a room, you know? So even if you go to the doctor today, you may not be able to get treated right away, or you may not be able to get a room, you know? It's getting crazy out there. And the more you can do at home, the better, okay? And it's a lot cheaper, too. So I hope you've learned a lot tonight. I gave you way more information than I had time to get through. But I would encourage you to take that one particular sheet, this quick sheet, and follow down through this list. We talked about so many of these things. I would say that at the very end, the most important one on here is the very last one. And I actually said this is the most important step. And that is read Bible promises and pray, committing your health and your life into God's hands. That's the most important thing you can do. You know, there's a story in the Gospel of Mark where a woman went for 12 years to doctors and wasn't getting any help. She had the flowing issue of blood. And the doctors were just making her worse. And then she came and she touched Jesus, and she was healed. The greatest healing comes when you touch the Master. And that happens through prayer and Bible study. So come to God, and He will bring you the healing. It may not just be physical healing, it may be spiritual healing, emotional healing. There's many forms of healing we need. But that's the most important thing you can do. And that's a perfect segue to 2 weeks from tonight. We will be right here starting Creation Bible Guides on Health. And we encourage you to come and join us and have some soup. And it'll be a lot more relaxed, much more interactive. We'll get to know each other over those 8 weeks and experience that true form of healing. So I want to ask you to close your eyes, and we'll have a prayer to dismiss us. Dear God, thank you so much for tonight and the things that we have learned about natural remedies for winter, flu, and cold season. Lord, we want to be well, and we ask that you would be with those who are not feeling well tonight. Maybe there's someone we know right now who's not feeling well, and we can go home and share some of these things with them to help them find some relief. And we can be prepared for the next time we're starting to feel ill. God, teach us how we can follow the laws of health so that we don't experience disease. We pray your protection and blessing over every person here and their families. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for spending your evening with me. And I hope you were blessed. Elderberries are at the table. And if you want to give a little extra donation, and with that, feel free. Put it in the envelope, though. Put your donations in the envelope. And yeah, grab some elderberries as you head out. What's that? Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Here, take your water.
Oh, thank you.